My cousin said. "You barely drive this car, let me borrow it for 6 months. I'll cover gas every now and then." After he'd already borrowed it 3 times and returned it dirty, empty and once slightly scratched, I replied, "Sure thing." Then I pulled up the GPS tracker I'd hidden under the seat, forwarded the pre-signed liability agreement to my email, and saved the photos of the car's pre-borrow condition. When he ignored the maintenance check-ins and racked up 3,000 extra miles, the repair bill and traffic tickets revealed his carelessness. The silver Honda Civic sat idle in my driveway, its paint glinting in the Sunday morning sun, as Jake leaned against the hood with that familiar grin, equal parts charm and entitlement. I'd bought the car 3 years prior, a used but well-maintained model I'd saved for diligently, and it had served me well. Short commutes to my graphic design job in downtown Chicago, weekend trips to see my parents, the occasional grocery run. But since my office moved to a building a 10-minute walk from my apartment, the Civic had become more of a decoration than a necessity. Logging barely 50 miles a month, Jake, my 32-year-old cousin, had just landed a sales job in Schaumburg, 45 minutes each way by car, and he'd been hinting about needing a ride for weeks. "Public transit's a nightmare," he'd complain over family dinners. "I can't afford a car right now, and you're just letting yours collect dust." My parents had echoed his plea. "He's trying to turn his life around. Ethan, family should help family." But I remembered the last 3 times I'd lent him the car. The first time, he returned it with a coffee stain on the passenger seat and an empty tank. The second, a scraped rear bumper he never mentioned. The third, he kept it for 2 weeks instead of 3 days, claiming work got crazy. Kindness had started to feel like enabling. So when he said, "You barely drive this car, let me borrow it for 6 months. I'll cover gas every now and then," I didn't hesitate. "Sure thing," I replied, keeping my voice casual. Jake's face lit up and he clapped me on the back. "You're the best." "I'll swing by tomorrow to pick it up. No need for any fancy papers, right? I trust you." "Actually," I said, grabbing a folder from inside my apartment, "I drafted a quick agreement, just to cover both of us. Damage, maintenance, that sort of thing." It was a 1-page document, clear and concise. Jake would be responsible for all repairs, tickets, and maintenance. He'd return the car for a checkup every 30 days. No long-distance trips outside a 100-mile radius of Chicago, except his commute. And he'd keep it clean and fueled. Jake scanned it quickly, his eyes glazing over the fine print. "Legal stuff's not my vibe," he said, scrawling his signature at the bottom. "But whatever. You know I'll take care of it." He didn't know I'd spent the night before installing a $50 GPS tracker under the driver's seat, synced to an app on my phone that tracked location, speed, and mileage. He didn't know I'd taken the car to my mechanic, Mike, for a full inspection, clean bill of health, 60% tread on the tires, no scratches or dents, and taken dozens of photos, close-ups of the engine bay, the odometer reading 32,451 miles, the spotless interior, the unblemished bumper. He didn't know I'd already set up alerts for traffic tickets linked to the license plate. I smiled as he drove away, the Civic's tires squealing, thinking, good thing I don't trust you. I was 29, making $70,000 a year at a small design studio, living in a cozy Ukrainian village apartment. The Civic was paid off, a point of pride, proof that hard work and budgeting paid off. Jake, on the other hand, had never been able to hold on to stability. He'd flitted from retail to construction to a failed stint as a social media influencer, always short on cash, always relying on family to bail him out. When he'd called me a month earlier, gushing about his dream job at a tech company, I'd been happy for him until he mentioned the commute. I'd seen this coming. My parents had been on my case for weeks. "He's had a rough time," my mom said. "A car is the only thing standing in his way." I'd tried to explain that Jake's problem wasn't a lack of transportation, it was a lack of accountability. But they were stuck on family first, so I'd compromised, lend him the car but protect myself. The GPS tracker was non-negotiable. The agreement, a formality he'd ignore. The photos, evidence I'd need when things went south. The first month passed with minor infractions. The GPS showed he'd taken a detour to a casino in Hammond, Indiana, one Friday night, and he returned the car for the maintenance checkup with an empty tank and fast food wrappers in the back seat. "Sorry, man, been swamped," he said, rushing off. I cleaned it and filled the tank, telling myself it was the last time I'd cover for him. The second month, the violations escalated. The GPS logged trips to Milwaukee, Indianapolis, and St. Louis, none of which were part of his commute. The odometer climbed 1,200 miles in 3 weeks, double what it should have been. I texted him. "We need to stick to the agreement, no long trips." "The car's due for a checkup," he replied. "Chill, it's fine. Just helping a friend move. I'll bring it by next week." Next week came and went. By the third month, I hadn't seen the car in 6 weeks. The odometer read 35,092, 3,241 miles over what it should have been. Then the tickets started. 2 speeding tickets, one on the Eisenhower Expressway, one on Lakeshore Drive, and a parking ticket in downtown Chicago, all addressed to me, but the photos clearly showed Jake behind the wheel. I called him. "Jake, I need the car back today. It's past due for maintenance and I have 3 tickets in my name." He sighed loudly. "Ethan, seriously? I'm in the middle of a big sale. Can't drop everything." "The car's fine, I swear. I'll handle the tickets, just give me a few more days." "No, Jake," I said firm. "You signed an agreement. I'm coming to get it." The GPS led me to a campground in Michigan, 2 hours from Chicago. The Civic was parked by a fire pit, caked in mud with a dented front bumper, cracked passenger mirror, and a deep scratch along the driver's door. Jake was sitting on a cooler, drinking beer with friends. "What the hell, Jake?" I said. He jumped, spilling beer on his shorts. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" "I'm here to get my car," I said, gesturing to the damage. "You said it was fine." "You said you were at work." He went defensive. "It's just mud, chill. The dent was a parking lot accident. I told you I was helping a friend move." "Helping a friend move to a campground?" I pulled out my phone, showing him the GPS history. "Milwaukee, Indianapolis, St. Louis, none of this is your commute. And these tickets, $450 total. You said you'd handle them." "You're being such a stickler," he scoffed. "It's a car, not a diamond necklace. Accidents happen." "You signed an agreement," I said, pulling out the folder with the photos and signed document. "You broke every rule." "Whatever," he said, tossing me the keys. "Take your stupid car." "I don't want it anymore." I drove the Civic back to Chicago, the engine rattling, the steering misaligned. When I dropped it off at Mike's shop, he shook his head. "Ethan, what did he do to this thing?" "Drove it like it was a rental," I said. The inspection revealed a laundry list of issues. Tires worn down to 10% tread, $200 to replace. Low oil pressure from neglected maintenance, $2,500 in engine repairs. A dented bumper, $1,800. Cracked mirror, $300. Scratch repair, $700. And a steering alignment, $400. Plus the $450 in tickets. Total $8,450. I texted Jake the estimate, photos of the damage and the ticket receipts. "You owe me $8,450 by Friday." His response was immediate. "Are you out of your mind?" "8K? That's Ija." "I'm not paying that." I called him, but he didn't answer. Instead, my uncle, Jake's dad, called me. "Ethan, what's going on?" "Jake says you're trying to charge him $8K for a few dents." "That's not family behavior." "Uncle Tom, let me explain," I said, sending him the agreement, GPS logs, before and after photos, repair estimate, and ticket screenshots. He signed a contract. He took the car to 3 states, neglected maintenance, got 3 tickets, and damaged it. "This is the cost." There was a long silence. "He took it to Michigan?" Uncle Tom said, his voice tight. "He told me he was working overtime." "He lied," I said. "He's been using my car for road trips, not his commute." Uncle Tom sighed. "I'll talk to him." "And Ethan, I'm sorry. I should have raised him better." 2 days later, Jake showed up at my apartment, a check in his hand, his face red with embarrassment and anger. "Here," he snapped, shoving the check at me. "Happy now? You really had to go to my dad. You couldn't just let it slide?" "I shouldn't have to let it slide," I said. "You signed an agreement. You broke it. This is the consequence." "Consequence?" He scoffed. "You're just petty. I would have paid for the dents, but $8K is robbery." I pulled out the mechanics breakdown. "Tires, engine repairs, bumper, mirror, scratch, alignment, tickets, all you're doing." Mike gave me a discount. "I could have charged you more." He stared at the paper, then at the floor. "I didn't know it was that bad," he mumbled. "Because you didn't care," I said. "You borrowed my car, promised to take care of it, and drove it like it was disposable. This isn't on me, it's on you." He didn't say anything. He just turned and walked out, slamming the door behind him. I deposited the check and dropped the Civic off at Mike's shop. 2 weeks later, it was back, good as new. The engine purred, the tires were fresh, the damage was gone, and it smelled like pine from the detailing. I took it for a drive, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. I'd stood up for myself, not letting family pressure me into ignoring his disrespect. Jake didn't speak to me for months. My parents tried to mediate, but I told them I wasn't ready to forgive him, not yet. "He needs to learn that actions have consequences," I said. 6 months later, my mum called with an update. Jake had bought a car, a 10-year-old Toyota Corolla with 150,000 miles on it. He'd saved up from his sales commissions, paid cash, and was taking care of it. "Washes it every weekend, changes the oil himself," she said. "Says he never wants to borrow a car again." I smiled. Progress. The next time I saw Jake was at Grandma's 80th birthday party. He hesitated when he saw me, then walked over. "Hey," he said, awkward. "How's the Civic?" "Good," I said. "Like new, thanks to you," he winced. "I'm sorry. I was a jerk. I should have read the agreement, taken care of it. I'm used to people bailing me out." "I know," I said. "But you're an adult now. No one's going to bail you out forever." "I learned that," he said, smiling faintly. "Bought my own car, beat up, but it's mine. No tickets either." "Good," I said, raising my glass. "Cousin, next time drive safe. And maybe read the fine print," he laughed. "Deal. And hey, if you ever need to borrow my Corolla, just say the word. I'll even make you sign an agreement." We stood there, sipping punch, the tension melting away. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Later, Uncle Tom pulled me aside. "Thanks, Ethan," he said. "You did what I couldn't. You made him grow up. He needed to learn this lesson, and you didn't let him off the hook." As I drove home that night, the Civic gliding smoothly down Lakeshore Drive, I thought about what had happened. Jake had taken advantage of my kindness, but I'd been prepared. I'd set boundaries, collected evidence, and stood my ground. And in the end, he'd paid the price, not just financially, but emotionally. He'd learned that entitlement doesn't get you far, and respect is earned, not taken. For me, it was a lesson too. Kindness without boundaries is enabling. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary, even with family. The Civic still sits in my driveway, mostly unused during the week. But now when someone asks to borrow it, I say no. Or if I say yes, there's a signed agreement, a GPS tracker, and a folder of photos. Because some people need to learn the hard way, and I'm not afraid to be the one to teach them. As for Jake, he still has that Corolla. Last I heard, he's saving for a newer model, this time with money he earned, and a little respect for the things he has. Karma doesn't always have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's just a car, a lesson, and a cousin who finally grows up.